Welcome to Teachers Transition Podcast, a show dedicated to supporting teachers transition in, through, and out of education. Grab your seat and let's talk about how to make your next transition a successful one. Happy Sunday, everyone. This is Alex Curtin, host of Teachers Transition Podcast, helping teachers transition at every stage of their career. And I'm so excited to have this talented young man. I saw him first on Instagram and then TikTok, and his energy is contagious. And I'm so happy to welcome the wonderful, talented Keldric Holmes. For those you don't know him, you must be sleeping on TikTok. He's a third grade teacher, speaker, and content creator based in Atlanta, Georgia. He is known for sharing the real, unfiltered, and often hilarious moments from his classroom. Building a strong following across social media, TikTok, Instagram. You need to click and follow. He's hilarious. With a background in dance and education, he brings creativity, authenticity, and storytelling into everything he does. His work highlights the realities of teaching while inspiring others through humor, honesty, and lived experience. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Keldric. Hey, Keldric, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing today?
I'm so excited to chat with the future generation of amazing teachers.
Well, I will say thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yes. So again, as I said before, to me, he represents the next generation of teachers. I've been teaching for 27 years, and when I thought about, the things that he says and talks about, it just makes me reflect about how often teachers see these things in the classroom, but, don't have the courage to say it out loud. We think it or we tell our colleagues, but he has a funny way of sharing the funny things that, second and third graders, talk about. So before we dive deeper into that, can you give us a little beginning summary about your educational or teaching profession journey? What was that like?
Oh, it was very rough, must I say. I went to the University of Southern Mississippi, and a lot of people don't know this, but my original major was dance. But when I became a junior at Southern Miss, a friend she came to me and she said, maybe we should change our major to dance education because if things don't work out in the dance world, they always need teachers in
Sure.
the schools. I was like, okay, you're right. I don't really plan on using that education degree, but I'll do it because that is a smart move. So when it was time for me to graduate, I had such a hard time with finding a job in the dance field. And back then, my plan was to just graduate and come directly to Georgia. But things happen, things change, they don't always go according to plan. But I at that time I was kind of comparing myself to my classmates, the people I were graduating with.
Sure.
Most times people they find a job coming directly out of school, but that wasn't the case for me. So my fraternity brother, Kijana, shout out to him, he introduced me to a program at a school right down the street from where we were, and they were um paying for students to go to school for free for a year to get their master's in elementary ed. So I did that, hated it. I hated every second of it. Because one, that wasn't that's not what I really wanted to do. I actually went to school saying I never want to teach a day in my life. So it's
Right.
very interesting how, God can humble people.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. So I went, and the program was only for a year, but I remember just praying, like, Lord, please just let me out of this program. It was my first year teaching.
Oh,
Um, and it clearly was something that I did not want to do at the time. So my first year, it was just miserable. I was taking maybe about 5, 6 classes at a time on top of, it being my first year. So it was pretty bad for me. So that was my introduction into, you know,
okay.
education.
Okay. Well, we're so thankful. This is not the first time I've heard from some of my guests that said, that wasn't the original plan, but they got detoured to something that was bigger than themselves. They're, something they felt they were called to do. And, how has teaching changed you outside of the classroom? It's one thing to be able to acquiesced to the teaching environment, how has it, affected you outside of the classroom?
Now, I would say I am not as social as I used to be. um, Teaching it really, well, for me at least, I know it's not like this for everyone, but for me, it's just very draining. I teach third grade, so you hear your name called 1,000 times a day, and you're having to make 1,000 different decisions, and you have
Mhm.
meetings on top of meetings, and you still have to pour into the kids. So I would say by the time I get home at around 4 o'clock each day, I'm tired. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to see anyone. I don't really go out on the weekend. So it has definitely changed my social life. I'm
Okay.
not as vibrant as I used to be.
Gotcha, gotcha. Do you think that's gonna improve as you get more experience or,
Um, I'm
'cause
not
you're
sure.
okay,
It's been that way since I started teaching in 2023, and here we are, 2026. Almost 3 whole years later. So I'm just like, I'm not too sure if it's going to change.
sure, and that's real talk, and that's important, for teachers that are looking into the career, and also the perspective of parents that, it's a lot involved. It's a lot of critical decisions that you have to make every day, and there's so many, could be 22, 25 eyes. In my case, I'm a music teacher, 500 eyes
Mhm.
looking at me, and, it's a lot of decisions you gotta make, and, they're counting on you, so, you're it. So
Yes.
so, what do you think is the most important of having male elementary teachers in today's classroom? I'm actually the only male music teacher in my district, and I think we're going to become extinct because there's not too many, especially
Yeah.
male elementary, especially African American. That's a whole nother, So talk about that.
I think it's very important. I feel as though males, we provide that different level of sternness that kids say they definitely need. And I also think it's good because most of the times I don't think students necessarily associate love with male
Mm.
teachers.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, it's going to be a different for a lady because I feel like women they were born to love, most of them. So
yes,
I think it shows a different side when a student has a male teacher or a male figure in their life to know that it can come from both male and female. So
yeah,
the love
yeah,
that I pour into the students, I just really truly and hope they feel it. So I think that's one of the main reasons why I think, it's important to have male educators, especially
yes,
black male educators. Cause
yeah,
sometimes outside of the four walls of the classroom, they don't get that. Sometimes they don't get that, that type of sternness or that love from a father figure.
yes,
So
yes.
I'm glad that I'm able to provide that to some of my students who don't get it outside of school.
Yeah, and I would say to add on to that, just your presence of a male in the building, other than the custodian, that is
Hmm.
so important. This is my 27th year teaching, and I, moved to a different school this year, and a colleague basically told me, You are what the school needed," and you know, um, most female teachers, they had that nurturing aspect and,
Hmm.
giving hugs, I'm still startled. I had a kindergarten student walk in and they're about this high
Hmm.
and I was like, "Ah, okay," because,
Yeah.
you know, you know, that's not, usually common. It's fine, but just to experience it and seeing being that presence in the classroom. So thank you, among the other, male African American teachers for, taking it on this responsibility because it's a special calling.
Yeah. Thank you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a joy. What parts of your personality have you had to grow or unlearn to become effective with students? Or
Hmm.
who knows?
I would say for me, I've learned if you're any type of, educator, especially in an elementary school, you have to have some type of patience.
Mm,
And that's
absolutely.
something that I did not necessarily have before becoming an educator. I think that's something that I've had to grow into as far as having patience, especially with the little ones, because they require so much of you. And sometimes it's easy for a teacher to become overstimulated because
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that could be stacked onto our plates. But one thing that I've had to learn is to be more patient with the students because if not, I'm going to drive them crazy and I'm also going to drive myself crazy.
Yeah.
If I
Right.
don't learn how to just simply slow down and just be understanding as well. So I think those are the two things that I've had to change personality wise about myself to be more effective in the classroom for them.
Yeah, that's patience is key, especially we have to repeat the same instruction like 20
Hmm.
times, you know. And I would say also to even add on that is just you don't know what their home life or what happened before
Yeah.
school is like, and they come into your room, they can be dysregulated, and you have to like, okay, make a decision. Am I gonna turn up or am I gonna try to figure out what's going on? Because
Yeah.
that's just real life. So if your
Absolutely.
students describe you in one sentence, what do you hope they would say?
What do I hope they would say? I would want my students to describe me as someone that's caring,
Mhm.
someone that pours into them. And I guess kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, someone that's almost like a father figure.
Yeah.
Because you would be so surprised, especially depending on what type of school you're in or district, you would be so surprised at how many don't necessarily have that at home. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important that other people have to understand too. You can't treat every student the same because every student wasn't brought up the same. Everyone didn't grow up in a two-parent household.
Mhm.
So those are important things that I've, had to learn to consider when I'm dealing with these special, precious little kids. So I would hope they would look to me as like a role model or father figure, especially to those who don't have that outside of school.
Okay. Yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. And what's something about teaching that no one tells you? It's not in the manual. It's not the teaching for dummies. It wasn't in the master's graduate class. What is something, you had to kind of learn in the what I call on the trenches? On the spot.
One thing that I have learned when you become a teacher, you're not just a teacher.
Yes.
You're the counselor, you're the
Uh-huh.
doctor, you're the lawyer, you're the referee when you need to be. You have to become so many other things. A father figure, like I was saying, because some children simply don't have those things. So that's something they don't tell you in school, or at least they didn't tell me.
Right? Tell me
But
either.
it's not just simply being a teacher. You have to show up as many different other things as well for those students. And
Uh-huh.
that's something that I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. I remember seeing a recent post you had, I think, on TikTok about you having a parent conference and the parent
Mhm.
kind of trying to get your wisdom about how to raise their child and you know, I'm a parent. I have a 6-year-old and 22-year-old, and you know, it's helped me a little bit be a better teacher. But you know, that's you got to be so many different roles, and you got to switch and be so many different things for so many kids. And you know, would you say you wasn't ready for that, or how are you kind of because how are you acquiescing to that? That wasn't in the brochure. That wasn't in my contract.
I was not ready to be a teacher, period.
Mhm.
So I feel as though I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. But as far as, what I stated in my video, um, this particular conference I had some years back, it was the whole meeting was revolving the child's behavior.
Oh,
So the parent was asking me, so what can I do at home to help? And I'm like, at this time, freshly out of college. I'm at that point, I think I was 22 years old,
okay.
no kids. I'm like, there's no advice I could give you as someone that does not have,
Yes,
any
yes.
children. I can't the only thing I'm responsible for is making sure that your child learns, and
Yes.
that your child, acts accordingly while he's in the four walls of this classroom. And I can barely do that. So Lord
Y
knows I cannot
Sure, sure.
tell you anything about what to do while you're at home.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was interesting. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and then you'll learn, you pretty quickly that then you have some parents that will be telling you how you should teach so that their child could behave. Like, oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for enlightening me. Thank you for, I graduate class. I must have didn't take his elective. So it's
Right.
parents are interesting. I'm a parent too. It's interesting dealing and navigating through that and knowing what to say and
Mhm.
praising it and trying to start with some positive and then, well,
Yeah.
not it's not Johnny, his so, it's navigating that. And, oh, he doesn't act like that at home. Well, I can only show you what I'm seeing in the classroom,
Yeah.
so.
Absolutely.
But, as a parent and especially as a teacher, you can pretty easily tell, you know, who doesn't at home probably doesn't have routines, or because if and I'm guilty of it. Sometimes rough season with kids, and you know the ones that don't have a routine. They come to school and it takes you 20, 30 minutes to get them back. And sometimes this is the only place where they have, 9 o'clock, we do this, 9:50, and then for me as a teacher, when we get the whole week off or Thanksgiving in Texas, we get the whole Thanksgiving week off. As much as nice that is as a teacher, I kind of dread it because then some of those kids are unregulated for a whole week and it takes me, a day or two to get them back into this is what these are the
Absolutely.
expectations.
Yeah.
It's interesting, being a teacher and navigating that. Now we have a lot of people, that are either transitioning, you know, in education like yourself. Some people that are looking to have a side, gig, or even some people coming out. Now we are greatly enamored with your success in social media and your reach. And can you kind of talk about what that has been like? And before you do, I want to say, because my wife asked me to say that uh, that Keldric did give props to Mrs. C. For those of you that watch his videos, he's given multiple props. I can send you probably about 15, 20 videos where he gave the credit. So please
Thank
give up
you.
his back because see, I'm sure he's going to talk about how it's been good, but then all the grief that comes along with, people, you know, kind of going after him. So talk about how your social media's content journey, how that's going.
Right now it's been very good. I would say at my last school, which shall remain nameless, we were having some issues as far as the whole social media thing goes, because which is to be expected. Um, with school districts, but I would say the district that I'm in now, they're very open to it. So
Okay.
especially if I see like my principals or assistant principals, they'll walk around with their pen, come in the room, come in the room, come in the room. Um, so it's good to know that I have people, or as far as administration, I have administration that really supports the things that I do. As
Yeah.
long as I'm not, representing or portraying the school in a negative light. But it's been interesting. It's just so amazing to see how many people support me from all across the world. Literally, I have gotten, messages and comments from people in Africa, Australia. That's been really cool to see. Especially coming from a little old black boy from Brandon, Mississippi.
Mhm.
It's been very cool to see the positive things that you can do with social media. And as far as being an educator as well, I feel as though there are plenty of educators who um who may feel restricted as far as social media, but I'm glad that I've been given a voice to be able to express certain things that most
Sure.
people aren't able to, and it's able to reach people all across the globe. So social media has definitely been a huge blessing in my life, and I'm beyond grateful of all of the support and all of the people who tune in and send me encouraging things. I just, it makes me speechless sometimes to even think that I've you know reach that many people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's impact. That's, you are just taking what you do in the classroom and spreading it out to more people so that, we
Mhm.
applaud you because, in this world, you're able to do that. And as you said before, it's important to have supportive administrators where you're not giving out names, ID numbers,
Right. Yes.
test scores. What you're saying, what a lot of teachers kind of feel and express. I've said many years I would love to write a book. you know, in my book, if I was allowed to have a book, I would have videos because no one would believe it.
Mhm.
Like the
Oh,
thing
yeah, you're right.
well, I could I had a I used to teach in New York, and I had one kid go, "Mr. Curtin, we've met your wife, but that girl you were with wasn't your wife at the movie theaters." And I go,
Uh-oh.
"No, that is my sister. Her name is Janelle." We were hanging out like, you know
Uh-huh.
or kindergarten students, the things they say like, "Oh, you seem bloated today." I'm like, "Oh, thank you for pointing that out."
That's so funny because it's true. It's true. I always
Mhm.
tell people if you want to know or you want like an honest opinion about something, ask a child because I'm
Yes.
telling you, they're going to tell you exactly how it is. And sometimes I get the people ask me, are they really saying those things?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Have you not met the kids of today?
Yes.
They will tell you anything. So it's just, they're hilarious. I know most people don't, I don't think they believe most of the things that
No,
I
it's
say in my videos, but
mhm,
I'm telling you, some have no filter. They're not all that way, but most
yeah.
of them, they are.
So what would you say are some of the top things that you like, "Oh my word, did I just hear that?" Can you name a few for those that have been like, just stuck on Facebook, can you kinda share some of the things some of your highlight reel?
Oh, yes. I would say this was during my first year of teaching. I was new at the school, didn't really know. Well, clearly I didn't know any of the students. But we have to do the teacher thing as far as greeting the students at the door. So I had
Mhm.
one student, he came and he said, "Mr. Holmes, you can't call my mama because her phone is off." And I'm like, "What? Who said anything about calling your mom?" I had no intentions of doing it. It's just so funny how that just came out like there's no consequence of that.
Yes.
Another one, let me see. Oh my goodness, there's so many. I had one student to tell me that one morning I had brought some watermelon to school. I was eating it or snacking on it for breakfast. And one student said, "You should eat the watermelon seeds so you can have watermelon babies." And
Uh,
and then she was also like, "You're already big, so nobody will really tell that you're pregnant." I was like, "Oh my gosh.
oh, wow.
What kind of don't have to go on a military diet or goodness gracious." So I think that one has been my favorite one
Yes.
overall.
Yeah, you have to have tough skin to work in
Yes.
elementary school because the filters are not, fully installed and the updates have not, and they just kinda but you know what, it's funny, they're funny, they will keep you young. I did middle school, for my fir at a that was my first job, and literally during every lunch period, I was taking interviews. I'm like, "Can you fit me in? I have a 20-minute lunch."
Yes, absolutely.
26 years, elementary school is in my jam. I can, this year I have 6th graders, but, there's nothing like elementary school, so
There's nothing like it.
how do you balance now? Because how do you balance, teaching, content creating? How do you balance that? Because there's a lot of people out there, and there's definitely a big need for teachers, one, to laugh. So thank you for helping us laugh, especially during this last quarter where it's the push and behaviors. But how do you
Mhm.
balance, that aspect of your life?
How do I balance that? I don't. And I think that's the problem. I
Yeah,
think I've come to like I said earlier, now it's like I just come home and I just unwind. I spend
yeah.
the rest of the day just unwinding. So now I've gotten a bit lazy with it. So between working and content creation, I haven't really necessarily found a balance right now. It's just been, oh, let me record this, or I know that I'm going to do the things my students say on Friday.
Mhm.
So I usually prepare for that. I have that in mind, or any other time I'll just think of something that I could ramble on about that,
Okay.
I feel as though most people may need to hear. But as
Got
far as a balance, I don't think I found a balance because there's a lot that goes into, creating content. I'm not sure if most people know, but as far as, the editing and
yeah.
responding to different things and emails or brand deals, there's a lot that has to go into that. So it's not easy. I know most people know you just, oh, let me get my phone and press record, which that
Yeah.
may be the case for some people, but
Sure.
it's very it's very hard. It's almost like a side hustle, which it is, but this
Yeah.
its own thing as far as, creating content. So I'm trying to now actually find that balance,
Okay.
especially since this is something that I want to continue to do.
And what would you say for teachers that are looking for that side, you know, if they want to start content, what are some things that you've learned, some things that you said, okay, I shouldn't have made that mistake? What are some best practices that you can, because people would say, I only have, 20 views. What am I doing? Keldric has, blah, blah. What am I doing? What can I do? What bit of advice can you give, for our listeners?
I believe the first piece of advice that I would like to give is that you have to know that it's not going to happen overnight.
Mm,
I believe that some people expect, okay, I'm going to post this one video and I'm going to hope that it goes viral, but it doesn't happen that way. For most people, it may happen, but for the most part, I know that this is something that has to be consistent. Also, besides that, you have to find your audience.
yeah.
Me, when I first began posting on TikTok in general, this was maybe 2020. I believe I was a sophomore. No, I was going into my sophomore year of college. At that time, I was posting more, I would say like more church related things.
Okay.
Um, but that kind of took off, but I wasn't consistent with it. So the audience that I wanted, it wasn't growing how I wanted it to grow. Um, so sometimes it can take weeks or months or even years for you to even, start gaining that attraction that you desire. So have that in your mind as far as, this is not something that can happen overnight.
Sure.
Two, finding your audience. And three, you have to talk about things that people can relate to. So I guess that kind of goes back into number two. Um, so yeah, I think those are my top two pieces of advice that I would give to anybody that's trying to, step their foot into the content creation world.
Great, great. So I have one question I was thinking last night. So has any of your students seen your videos and have they like have talked about like what's that like? Mr. Holmes,
Absolutely.
talk about me.
I am like, and I say this humbly, but I am like the celebrity
Okay.
of the school. Like everybody from I teach third, but even I
Right.
see fourth and fifth graders who I don't even half the time I don't even know their name. They're coming up to me, oh, Mr. Holmes, I saw your TikTok or I saw your
Yeah.
video on YouTube Short. So they love me.
Okay.
They love me, but now it's become like a school wide thing. The students
Oh
talk
wow.
about it, the teachers
Mhm.
talk about it. So it's been interesting.
Okay. Okay. So thinking of impact, where do you see yourself? Are you do you consider yourself going to stay teaching for the next bunch of years? Do you think you envision yourself, getting more impact, through social media or both? Where do you sense, your direction is, short term or long term?
Ooh, right now, teaching is not something that I see myself doing
Okay.
for a very long period of time. It's funny because I actually told a friend of mine, I think I'll give myself about one more year
Okay. Okay.
in the classroom. And I think that kind of goes back to it. The teaching was not really something that I wanted to do from the jump.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed, the relationships that I built, especially with the students and my colleagues. But kind of going back to what I was saying earlier again, there's so much that goes into teaching besides actually standing up in front of a class and making sure that the
Sure.
students know what a noun is.
Yeah.
But I think I would like to take a different direction. I think I'm getting more into maybe public speaking or
Okay.
motivation or speaking engagements. Period. I think that's something or a direction that I would like to take. I would like to utilize my platform to help me
Okay.
get there. So
Yeah.
I don't want to, become stagnant where I am. I want to grow and blossom and
Sure.
do a million other things if I can.
Well, that's very smart that you know that now because sometimes teachers I talk to teachers, they feel like they're stuck. And while this podcast is kind of geared to teachers, I don't think you a person's a teacher just because you got the certification. I think innately you are a teacher if you decide to go in the teaching profession and then maybe move up to principal or director
Hmm.
or higher, or you move out, that inherent gift and calling, you're able to transfer knowledge, you're able to impact someone. That makes you a teacher, whether you have a degree or not. And I would say, it's good and important that you feel empowered that, hey, this is going to be my next step because there are so many teachers that feel trapped. You know,
Yes.
they feel like they have to ride this out. And sometimes that does a disservice to students because then they're miserable, they're not empowered, and then it's a lose-lose. So can you talk to people about, talk to teachers about that? Because it sounds like, and this is another reason why wanted to have you on, because I among the laughing I saw, which is great, and the joy that you bring, I saw a lot of wisdom that you have as
Mm,
a young
thank
professional
you.
say, "Hey, these are insights." So teachers need to hear, "Hey, they are always in control of their career." Can you talk about that? I know that wasn't one of the questions, but I just kind of feel like,
Mhm.
hey, you have some great insights.
Thank you. Something that I've learned, as far as being a teacher for only 3 years,
Mhm.
teaching is all about what you make of it. And I truly believe in order to be a teacher and remain a teacher, you have to have a passion for it. If you
Mhm.
do not have a passion for it, you're going to burn out immediately because,
Yeah.
you're going to feel like you don't want to be there, or like I said, all those, because it's more than just being a teacher. You have to, become all these other things as well. So I've heard many, 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 many stories about people not how teaching or education is shifting at the moment. But since I'm old, I'm not going back to school to do anything else, or um I just don't have the time to venture off into something else. I think that's where most people become stuck, because no matter what, I feel as though no matter how old you are, you can always learn something new.
Yes.
There are 1,000 jobs out here. Everybody wants to do something. If teaching is not your thing, don't be afraid to venture off and try something else. I think that's where, having faith comes in at, because I know regardless of what I do, my faith is so strong that I know that God is going to work it out
Yes.
in whatever
Mhm.
way possible. He's already shown me that. Um, so all you need is just a little bit of faith. If this is something, or this could be whatever career that you're in, if it's truly not something that you enjoy, leave. It
Yeah.
might not be easy. It's not. You're gonna have some, trials and tribulations, but you have to have the faith that everything is gonna work out exactly how it's supposed to work out. Um, so that's the best piece of advice that I can give, because like I said, I know so many people that feel trapped, and
Mhm.
I'm not the type of person I have so much more life to live, I say it that way. And I do not want to be trapped into something for, majority of my life. And then I have to look back and say, dang it, I wish I would have, taken that leap of faith when I had the chance, or whatever the case may be. So just don't be afraid. You gotta have some faith. I think that's the number one thing that I'm trying to say right now. You have to have the faith in
Yes.
yourself, or whatever your higher power is.
Yes.
Um, but you also cannot be afraid. You can't be
Yes.
afraid.
No, I love that. We teach students all the time about a growth mindset, but sometimes teachers are the one with the fixed mindset, that we
Mhm.
can't move our careers. And our school this year is talking about the power of yet, and how that you know, I might not be able to do it now, but it's going to be yet in the future. And I think
Mhm.
that gives us hope. Definitely faith, as a person of faith, knowing that you have a purpose, and the purpose is not just your job. It's what
Yes.
it's what season you're in. It's what God has for you to do, and the impact. So definitely, greatly appreciate your insights today because, as a young man, you got a lot of wisdom. You make us laugh. Thank you for making us
Thank
laugh.
you.
Thank you for the joy that you bring. Thank you for the impact. And we know, I know, I can just see it. Just great things that you will have even greater impact. And you know, any final thoughts, as we wrap this up, any advice, any, to our listeners, oh, come on.
Ooh.
Again,
Any
we gave
advice?
something to you.
I would say a piece of advice that I would like to give is that you have to pour into the kids now, because there are future doctors and
Yes,
lawyers, and I hear so much about parents not creating the time to pour into their children. If you don't pour into your own children, who else is responsible for doing that?
yes, yes,
um but I just want to emphasize that, because, like I said, these children, they're coming on up, and you want to make sure that the world is
mhm,
in, a good set of hands. But it
yes,
starts with us, because they
yes,
don't know any better. We have to pour into those kids. We have to show them the right way. We have to teach them those things that they need, as far as, life skills, social skills,
yes,
being emotionally regulated, things like that. Those are all things that they're going to need from now until they grow up and become parents of their own, or teacher, and whatever else they would like to be. So I just want to emphasize the importance of truly pouring into these children, because we are all that they have. And for any
most,
teacher that's out there, who may be questioning whether or not this is what they truly want to do, like I said before, just keep the faith. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, whether you're scared. But God is not a God of confusion. You know,
yeah, yeah,
I feel as though you just have to, like I said, keep that faith and keep pushing on, and know that everything is going to work out exactly how it's supposed to work out for you.
yes, yes. Well, for those of people that are listening on the podcast that have been living under a rock, Keldric, can you tell us how we can find you on Instagram or TikTok for some good laughs?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Keldric
Okay,
Holmes. That's KeldricHolmes, and Facebook at what is it? Class with Mr. 8.
okay. Good. And can you leave us with one more? Come on, your
Come in the room, come in the room, come in the room. I wish I had my pen to click so they could hear or see however they choose to, however they're tuning in. But yes, come on in the room.
Well, thank you for your time today, sir. And we appreciate your wisdom, your laughter, and your impact to not only the classroom, to teachers, and to the world. So thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. And thanks for joining us today. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with a colleague. Keep learning, keep growing, and never stop believing in your impact, because you truly make a difference.